I saw this and I kind of like shook my head a bit. I was like, hey, that's a low blow, whatever the case may be. But some people are obviously going to kind of take these things in a certain way over a different way, or whatever the case may be. For me anyway, I look at this and I think, man, this is really, really not a good sign. This is something that, obviously us as fans kind of have an idea about kind of what's going on and things like that. It's realistically just not a great look. And I still think that Microsoft could fix some of these issues if they, if they actually wanted to, or if they tried. I think that's the main part that I would kind of point to. It's like, hey, you guys switch directions so much. Yeah, there's still going to be some diehard Xbox fans. Like, listen, I love Xbox, but I think I confuse some people when I say that, and I mean Xbox, the console. Like, I couldn't care less about streaming or PC or using a phone as an Xbox or their PC handheld or any of that stuff. Like, I look at an Xbox as an Xbox, right? So I know that might feel a little bit odd to some of you, but to me, that's just what an Xbox is. I don't care how Microsoft tries to spin it. None of that spin has helped them really do anything more. All their growth has come from exactly what Activision's growth was, right? So it hasn't really helped them in any way, and in fact, it's kind of killed off the console much more than anybody really expected, which is really unfortunate. I mean, you got places not stocking the console now, not even putting the cards where you can, put money on your console or an account and stuff like that. So yeah, we have a extreme kind of bad situation here, and I'm looking at this and I'm just like, man, this is a scary thing from somebody who probably has a much better insight and insight to these things than any of us. And I want to get into it. Should be a pretty interesting video for sure. For a second though, I'm going to take a minute to kind of say, hey, if you guys enjoy my content, please take a minute to like it, share it, subscribe, and also comment, all that kind of stuff. That stuff is super important. I do daily gaming content, so if you guys are looking for something that comes out every single day, look no further. I do that every single day. I try to be fun yet informative and do some interesting topics that you guys might enjoy. So with that being said, I want to kind of get back into this. So, as you guys might know, Mikey Barra, he used to work for Xbox. And, here's the thing I'll say about Mike. While I haven't always agreed with everything Mike has said, I actually got a chance to partially interview him a bit. He was on Mooch's podcast at one point, and, we talked to him and stuff, and it was cool. He would say stuff like behind the scenes and like in his chats and stuff. He was when he would stream games, he was very much an Xbox guy that was like trying to, win. Trying to get consoles out there selling, and he was the guy that announced the backwards compatibility, and he headed up a lot of good things for Microsoft. But now we're looking at this and it's different. So anyway, basically what happened was IGN did this post on X that said Sony is calling the PlayStation 5 generation of consoles its most successful to date, after reaching a milestone of $136 billion so far, just under 5 years into its lifespan. To which Mikey Barra subtweeted, "But hey, the console market isn't a successful business. It is if you do it right." And then somebody commented underneath of it, the bitter X, and he said, "Your console is dead." So, yeah, I mean, listen, I get both sides of this argument, right? Like, if you're an Xbox guy, listen, I'm an Xbox guy, but I admit that their console is on life support, right? PlayStation, Switch 2, Switch 1 even is outselling it still. People are pulling it, companies are pulling it from their stores. Microsoft is doing updates, but they're mostly just doing updates for like the PC and the mobile side of things and things like that. So that's unfortunate. And again, we're just kind of looking at these things in sort of a way that realistically have sort of shaken the core of what Xbox is. So you have some people that think that cheer Xbox as long as they're making money, and to me, I think that's stupid. if you don't have a console, then you don't have anything as far as I'm concerned. Like if the console's not doing good, and why would they continue to do good, right? And why would they continue with consoles if at the end of the day those consoles are not doing well? I think that's a big problem going forward. I think that this is something that obviously all of us as gamers can look at and say, hey, this is going to be an issue going forward. I think that this is something that we're just going to have to deal with this stuff, and again, Microsoft could change direction at any moment. I think, to be honest with you though, I think that like where we're at right now might be a little bit too late to really change things. Honestly, it just could be a situation where things are ever evolving. I don't know, but it's like, to me, you want to really, really kind of keep your options open, and it doesn't seem like Microsoft wants to do that when it comes to Xbox. And I know people go, oh, well, that's an old school metric, selling consoles or whatever, but it's like, look, Nintendo, Sony, these companies are making money selling their product, right? They're all kind of old school, but they're still selling consoles, and they're able to kind of branch somewhat into the future, right? Like, let's just be real, they are, obviously. If you look at PlayStation, they're doing a lot of things that Microsoft are doing, but they're doing it in such a way that realistically, is a bit different, and therefore, they're kind of sticking also to a more traditional kind of console situation, and Nintendo even more so. So, again, Microsoft has kind of shot themselves in the foot numerous times, and I'm not sure if that's something that will ever, if they'll ever be able to kind of break free from. Like, I hope that they can break free from that. I would like to see Xbox go out there and be, just this amazing thing, but I'm just not sure if that's what's going to be able to happen. This could be a very, very bad thing, and this could be something that hampers Xbox forever. Like I said, I've mentioned this numerous times before. Microsoft really needs to kind of figure out what they really want to do and then stick with it. I think the problem that they kind of move all around, and that they kind of, the way that they kind of do these things, I think that realistically is a problem. People are having a hard time trusting Microsoft. They have found themselves almost in the same kind of situation as Sega did back in the day, and it's really nobody's fault but their own. And they're going to have to figure out how to handle this and how to change things around so that people can, so that everybody kind of understands that Microsoft is either, like, you can't. Here's what I'm trying to get to. I'm sorry for rambling, right? You are in or you're out, right? You can't really be everywhere anymore. You know what I mean? You've got to be able to master some things, and it doesn't seem like Microsoft can do that. So, people are kind of lukewarm on them, and that's unfortunate because, at the end of the day, you want as many people as possible to be impressed and to want to be able to play your platform and all that kind of stuff. So, this is basically a huge warning. This could be the end of Xbox. I know people go, oh, well, you say that a lot. I mean, but listen, stores are pulling them out. Like, look at the Surface. Does it exist? Yes. Does anybody care or use the Surface? No, because Microsoft doesn't care about it. The only places you can get them is through their online store. That's not how you compete. And why would developers mess with Xbox versions of games if nobody is able to even get an Xbox? I mean, think about this. The only places where Xbox are going to be a thing is going to be like North America a little bit, and maybe the UK. But even then, that might even be reduced to just online only, which would be a terrible, terrible thing, and a huge oversight if Microsoft allows that to happen. I don't know how they could lose all the goodwill they built up with the Xbox Xbox One towards the tail end of that, doing things for gamers, and now it's just like they don't give a crap. It's just utterly ridiculous. Anyway, I'll link this. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys agree that Xbox is basically dead as we know it? Doesn't mean that the console division's going under, or that, you know, Microsoft won't keep putting games out. I'm just saying the console itself looks pretty bleak. Rack 'em up. Grab Gamer out.